Those of you regular subscribers to my YouTube channel might recognize and remember when I mentioned the vaunted XY engine. Well, here's the XY engine. Excuse me. And this is after I had already tried to over rev it and run it till it died. Well, it didn't die. It actually ran over 17, almost 18,000 RPM for several minutes without a hitch. So what I'm going to do now, a subscriber suggested another experiment for this engine, which was run it with a low nitro fuel, low to zero nitro fuel like FAI fuel, run it for, a tank, and then leave the carb and maybe even the glow plug off, maybe even the exhaust off the engine, and let it sit in my garage for 2 weeks and do kind of a corrosion test on it. See if the crankshaft and things like that start to get corroded. So, and then he said after that, take a look at the engine, see how it does, and then go on and do it with a very high nitro percentage fuel, like 25%, where that fuel will tend to create the acids that will actually promote corrosion and rust, and do the same thing, let it sit for 2 weeks. So I figured, what the heck, why not do this? But before I can do that, I need to baseline the inside of it again. Meaning, I need to get a look and see what it looks like now before I do that, so that I've got something to compare it against afterwards. So, here's a nice good look at the inside of it. You can see it looks nice and clean, shiny. I don't know if I'm going to completely tear this engine down. I don't think I'm going to. I'm just going to note light surface marks on that counterweight. But overall, this looks like it's in really good shape. I do need to take the carb off, and I was going to pop the head off real quick too, so that we can kind of look at the crankshaft there, because that's a spot, if I leave the carb open, that'll be a spot where you'll notice rust or corrosion beginning to form. So amazingly, this engine actually kind of impressed me a little bit in that it ran. The carburetor is complete crap on this thing. I mean, it's just total garbage, but anyway, here's the inside. Looks nice and shiny. No rust, evidence of rust there at all. Now, I obviously don't expect to see any rust or corrosion on the top of the piston, but I do want to take the top of the head off just so I can see, for my own curiosity, what it looks like after those 2 runs I put this thing through at extremely high RPM. Now, as I mentioned in our first video of this thing, these head screws are totally ridiculous because they have like next to no depth at all in the socket part to capture the wrench, so it's kind of a pain in the butt to take these things off, especially to torque them, because there's no depth there. You really can't get on them without the wrench slipping off. The allergies are really kicking up here today. Okay, so this is the inside of the piston. Still looks nice and clean and shiny, actually. Look at that. Very good shape. And rotate this again. Let's look at that here. So we've got an engine that's in relatively good condition internally. So that's my baseline for this. Now, the next time I run this, I'm going to run it with, and I may even do it today, which is run a quick run with some FAI fuel, which is 0% nitro, added caster for protection, and then I'm going to leave the fuel in it. I'm not going to do it, run it dry. I'm just going to shut the engine down, let it stop, leave that fuel in there. Then I'm going to find a spot in my garage, and I'm just going to leave the carb barrel open, maybe take the exhaust off. No, I'll just leave the exhaust on just like this. Just like somebody just said, the heck with it, and just threw it in the garage and said, I don't care about this anymore. That's what I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to simulate this. So we'll take it and then I'll let it sit for 2 weeks. I'll open it up just like this again and see if there's any change in anything. And if there's not, I'll baseline those readings, and then I'll go and run the 25% nitro fuel and do the same thing. So this is going to be a long, kind of a long thing. It's going to take about 6 weeks to complete, but that's what the next thing for this engine. So stay tuned and hope you enjoy watching.